before we close out today, let's chit chat some more about self empowered women. So, we love to support all people who are healing their trauma, and it does not matter what end of the spectrum they come in from. Some of us, we thank Jesus for sharing that way to an open heart, and we thank sciences and spirituality for coming together. And we've talked a lot about that. So, when it comes to ideal partnerships, we want to open up the floor to when a man, in my case, for the groups that are women, theys, all aboard, polyamory, monoamory, come on over, right? Okay, so we're welcoming of different types of conversations. We're welcoming of people who are wanting to share how they get to talk to each other. Okay, so I'm going to use the malignant narcissist example that I think I shared in a couple of videos, or at least I mentioned it. So I was watching a really great explanation, and this is Dr. Daniel Fox. So I learned from doctors, by the way. I just don't make it a point to share that because it's unnecessary, because I'm creating conversation. And if I have any grown-ups, then they are going to ask questions. That's how it works when you're a person who uses your prefrontal cortex. You don't assume things, and you don't have this 3-year-old who says, I don't like that lady, she's bullshit. That's your left mode talking. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. You're here to hear what's it like to be an empowered woman and a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, and to do personal development if you want, and self-help, and there you go, right here, tone. Okay, so for a woman who's empowered, whenever we have a breakup, yeah, we don't have this thing of, oh my God, they betrayed me, now I'm chipping away at myself, or whatever it is. No. If we meet somebody who is going to be the gaslighting, ghosting, discard, what else have they mentioned? All of the things that you hear from the avoidant attachment coaches to the avoidant fearful, avoidant dismissive, you name it. Okay, so I've seen a lot in my 44 years. I mean, I shouldn't say a lot because 44 years is nothing, but I've seen enough of the attachment and trust breaks and all this stuff that I've also learned about. And the one thing that I have is thank you, Jesus, love. I have love, and once I got a hold of attachment and trauma information, I cried. I was so sad to realize what a secure attachment empowered woman does to people, men, women, days, it don't matter. I didn't care about the teenager attitude because when I was a teenager, I learned about the spiteful cowardice. Cowards. That's the word that comes to my brain and my mind and my mouth is a coward. It's a coward, coward, coward. But then I want to bring in lovely Patrick Tiahan. He's a childhood trauma survivor, and he's healed and healing, and he's a therapist, and he shares one of his biggest regrets from his childhood. It made him unkind. So I remember people like Patrick who went and did therapy, and now they're trying to get other people to get to do therapy. So what I'm trying to say is my heart got sad when I found out about attachment trauma, and it got mad. Yeah, at the spiritual bypassers, but really not mad enough to say, let me go call him out. No, because I'm not a teenager. Those who are on Elsa's journey, they like to use the word Christ consciousness. They know nothing of it. If they did, then they would know forgiveness, because that's the one thing that man taught anyone. Now, if you want to use the ancient biblical text and you want to give me rules from an ancient time, that's a whole different story. But if you want to use the name Jesus, then I'm going to say anyone knows how he walked and who he walked with and how he talked. So Christ consciousness, to me, when I heard of it, as I got my clairs, I knew two things. This is special, and it's going to be amazing. And this is sad because I'm rejected by a group of people that I love to this day. And some will know. They will not want to have anything to do with me, especially as a solo polyamory, tarot reader, Akashic record reader, Reiki master. I'm okay with that. You know, my next thoughts were, let me make sure all the people that are my loved ones know who they have. Here's who I am. I follow the law. I am a person who cares, but here's who you got. That's to friends, family, lovers, all of it. Work, people who I work with. Here's who I am. Here's what I'm going to be talking about. I have no shame, but I understand if you need to reject me because I'm a person who's rational. So I had this type of conversation. It was a couple years ago or a year ago or whenever it was, and it was more of, if ever you need to distance for some reason, shape, or form, because we all know with social media, that there are those who check in on who you're connected with, what pictures, what not. Okay, so being a person who cares about other people's well-being and whatever they're doing and having healthy self-worth means that you acknowledge where you are and where you stand without the shame thing. And so it's more of, I'm going to inform you, and I'm going to also let you know that I don't take things personally and that I understand if there's ever a need for some of those things to take place, meaning I need to cut you out, I can't have contact. Why? Because there's different jobs. So see, this is where I have a master's degree. My degree is in international relations and diplomacy. When I was a teenager, I was very square. I'm still square. But before getting into my career choice, which is always to help people, but then I did it this way, which I like a lot more, by the way. Because yes, I figured, nope, I'm not going to be doing the world entity because that doesn't help people as quickly as I want to. I'm going to help people by helping them to be their self. Okay, but before getting all the way to here, there were a couple of equations. So first I thought law. And so as I looked into what that job and those roles wanted, and I looked into politics, I saw, okay, so if I want to be a politician, I'm supposed to try and do this thing and that thing. So they gave you a whole list of things that are looked for. So besides the network, put the network to the side. It talked about how people married, how people shouldn't. I have tattoos now. I waited to get tattoos, and I also didn't get a piercing that I wanted because of knowing if I want that role, here's what is going to make me less likely to be able and get such role. Like with the whole drugs thing, never interested because I'm a scaredy cat, but also I was like, I want to be with government, with law, and I am gonna respect it. So people laugh when I say that. That's because they don't embody consistency. When you're an authentic self, you embody consistency, which is why I continue to do what I had set out to do as an 8-year-old, because this is what tells me, and this is what says, okay, so what do we see? Okay, but long story short, in preparation to get into a career, there were choices made because I thought, I thought, oh, we're not even going to go there. But my point was that I chose to conduct so that I could get into the job that I wanted to because that's how it works. That's how life works. They tell you there's stepping stones. You're going to use your hands and your feet and you're going to get somewhere. And for a short time, I was a feminist because they had all informed me that I would be a woman who wouldn't be able to be given the same chance. And at a certain point, I'm like, this is bullshit. I don't believe it. I know that we still have disparity, but I know I'm going to get to wherever I want because I'm going to keep on going until I get to wherever I want to get. That's how it works because I got feet and I got hands, and that's how I know I can get there. So when I hear of these success stories and all those videos that go viral and all these people, and then, what I see just most irritating for me are the not empowered women talking the way they talk. It's just, side note, okay, long story short, when you're empowered, you're okay with rejection because if you love people in your life, you want them to be happy. So what you acknowledge is that society works a certain way when it comes to organized institutions, and you don't dismiss them just because there are conspiracy theories or the spiritual bypassers with their stories. So 3D and 4D Collective, I didn't foresee that they would stick around the way that I had already learned as a 5D mystic, because I know that you have a left and a right, but that left assimilates information. And so, yes, social media has become a vast and beautiful, beautiful sea of information, some disinformation. That part of disinformation is why technology is going to help us sift through it. And then there's people like me who authentically and genuinely say, hey, I'm a subjective, experienced person with this much knowledge, this much information. Here's what I'm bringing to you. And you will notice that they're starting, thank goodness, on YouTube to say, okay, here's who is an official mental health expert, for example, which I appreciate, which is why I mention mental health here and there, but we are here for personal development. We take seriously supporting people who are healing trauma. And here's where lovely Patrick Tiahan, I wanted to mention him because he is really awesome. And he's a childhood trauma survivor. He's healed in healing, and he always gives good tips to his community so that they can remember that some people don't do emotional lifting. They don't even do emotional awareness. Okay, so when you meet unkind people, the maladaptive child behavior. One, if you are a person with a part that is open to supporting because you can, great. That's needed. We need safe haven, secure base people who engage with these individuals as people. They're the ones who are going to choose if they get that support or not. And having somebody who can be a direct communicator with a tone that is loving, accepting, and respecting. That's why, like I said, when I share with people, here's who I am, even if they laugh about it, doesn't matter. I'm not offended. I will simply say, okay, this is what it is. What do you want to do? Do you want to stay friends or not? Kind of deal. And as for the lovers, they get to say yes or no. That's it. This is not negotiable. You get Maria. Maria is whatever Maria tells you she is. You don't believe me? What are you doing? That's the part. No, let me tell you who you are. Sure. What mask do you want to put? You're not going to be a lover of mine. That's for sure. Because you're telling me who I am, and I'm not who you're telling me to be. Okay, but side note. Okay, people can be sophisticated enough to weaponize psych ideas, but doing so often comes from having low emotional intelligence. And you will find that those who have low emotional intelligence do things like this: the martyrs and the superiors in their codependent relationships. So, empowered women, we don't do codependent anythings, which is where the solo poly has compersion. We have 24 hours and we have love that is infinite. And we know who we want to talk to and why, and such and such and such. When I see men or women or theys saying things like, here's how to prove your worth to a man or a woman or they, I'm thinking, really? When I see somebody telling somebody, here's how a secure attachment person is going to handle okay, so I know that part of educating yourself is that. But what I also know is what I see people out there not putting any of it into practice. And that's because they don't work with their emotional awareness. Okay, so let's say somebody comes to me and says, I don't like you and I don't want to be friends with you. Again, the part that a person is projecting, not necessarily true. They are giving you what they believe, what they think, and how they feel. If you're good with who you are, you know and accept, and there's not necessarily a grieving process, but it depends on how empowered you are. So getting here to what I share with you, I've organically done it because I never lost my authentic self, because I didn't lose my 0-1-year-old. She didn't need to attach to anyone. She has a secure attachment figure. And then I have a twin. So I already had to have those opportunities. I got the opportunity to have splinters and those ruptures and to make up. And so that's where I'm practiced. That's why I'm determined. So I can share with you how easy it is for me to be here and how you get the choice if you're motivated. And if you're a 5D mystic, then you know you will be over here. I have no shadow of doubt my 5D mystics, because you have a connection to the sphere of Akash consciousness. So you know that we're one big ball of energy. And I learned of it as brothers and sisters. But like I was saying, for different lifestyles, like with lovers, if any of you are polyamory, there's a very easy way to talk about it. That doesn't mean you're going to be accepted. So as a woman, there is a difference in how I am taken on with it. And it's humorous, to say the least, when it's with the men. The women depends. They get confused, the women who are not empowered. Because, see, to me, you're an empowered woman, man or they, when you have your 0-1-year-old. Otherwise, you're a person who has yet to completely empower yourself. Because if my thumbs up or my thumbs down affects your heart, you're not empowered yet. So here at IHP, I tap into and support you to hear what it's like when you're an infinite higher human conscious potential person. It's enlightenment the human way, aka what is it? What's the word? I'm forgetting my words. Restorative embodied self. I was going to say recognize, but you can recognize it from here. So anytime a person begins to do work, if it gets really uncomfortable really quick, then you know you want Patrick Tiahan. If you can handle heartbreak and not have gut wrench, if you can handle sweetness, and if you can handle love, and that means you know that there isn't inherently good or evil anyone's, by the way. So you look at a person like me and say, oh, that's cute. Not, oh, you know what? She's pretending to smile. I bet she suffers all the time. I bet she's hiding some trauma, something. This you get used to hearing people do that. Oh, so many people throughout my years. So many. I use that word, not many, but it's just like consistently hearing somebody, you're pretending to smile because you can't be happy. Why can't I be happy? You know what happens to a 3 year old every time you tell them that they can't do something? I will say we all know what a 3 year old, but here's a 3 year old who chose love, and then as an adolescent I chose it again, and then as a teenager I chose it again, and then as I got older I chose it again. So imagine you make a choice. Sadhguru is the one person who made me aware of something that I hadn't yet thought of as a mystic. I loved when I came across it because I was like, you know what, you're right, Sadhguru. But basically, you're going to end up always having that balance out scale, right? Okay, so if I chose love, what do you think that I'm going to get to see? How are we balancing out those scales? But as you can see, I smile because, see, the opportunity for me to share this love with anyone who wants it means that I get the opportunity to awaken somebody's inner child and let that inner child come out and play, which means that they get to heal their trauma seriously, not for pretend. And now that I'm attachment trauma informed, that helps me to help to chit chat about those topics in a serious way. So, people who are serious about being their self, they enjoy people like me, like you, those of us who are independently thinking and who can talk about anything. The ones who are yelling and they don't allow for actual conversations to happen, well, that's a whole different story. And then there are those, organized institutions, which we know they're still, like not where they could be. I mean, I have people that I've met who don't have the possibility to get more tattoos because their employer doesn't want them to. And I'm like, what? Really? Where do they live? And they're like, yeah, I know, right? So it's very funny how we still have a lot of things in 2024 that aren't really up to speed, I would say. But then again, some people they don't like tattoos at all. So it is opinion based, and that's another side note. Empowered women, we welcome the opportunity to bring that inner child of yours as ours to come out and play. And that's why lovely Patrick Tiahan, if you need anyone for childhood trauma therapy, he's great. Check him out. And let's not use words, the weaponization of psych education. Don't use words with people like that. That's not nice. I mean, if you have an issue with someone, you want to talk about it. So when people have used words with me, I don't make it a big deal to say, why did you use that word? I will just say, well, if this is something that you think, then I can talk to you about it. We can continue our conversation and interaction. So again, anyone who is open to interacting like this will find people who will continue to talk to. Now, sometimes you do find those who don't. That's okay though, because you know how to say, I think we're really agreeing to disagree, or we're really disagreeing right now, and it's getting really heated. So maybe we should just stop our interaction and move away from each other right now and go, socialize with other people, because that's, if you're out and about, that's what's happening. And again, always a way for us to chit chat with anyone and everyone, and those ideal partner and or partners for the women, men, and days are the people who accept you for being you. They don't tell you how to think, they don't tell you how to feel, they don't tell you how to walk, talk, or whatever. But of course, you go out in public dressed, you follow the law of the places you are at. If you don't want to, then change the place you live at, go and vote. Those are those things. But in a situation where it's a relationship, there's conversation and accepting each other. And again, respect. But that's if you're empowered. If you're empowered, you're not a sensitive ego, because you don't take things personally. So you don't get into the teenager attitude of Kuso. And that will be something you will easily notice because of this, your tone, but also this and here. And if you're saying, I don't want to be around them all the time, then, that's a teenager attitude. Now, there are those who I know from my human love narrative, when we're around the human suffering love narrative. But guess what that is? That's the physical practice of you being able to remember to, like Daniel Siegel has taught me, differentiate, Maria. Differentiate. There's a me, and there you go. You keep on differentiating, and you recalibrate your nervous system. Whatever somebody is speaking of is their nervous system. It's their mouth. That is what is coming up. You detach, but not in a way of not listening. because you're not going to be engaged. No, you're engaged in a person's story. Your nervous system is not absorbing their energy or their human suffering because you've recalibrated, you've differentiated, and you create a link. You've also accepted that that's their way of thinking and feeling life. Okay. And right about now, there's a lot of energy going around. We got a new moon, no, full moon coming up. This is from my mystics because we have some ascension changes, and every 3 or 4 months, there's a new place that we're headed towards. So this is why right now it's a unique time again. I noticed it, which is why I'm mentioning it. You're gonna perceive and or see people flocking towards you, and if you're empowered, then you're going to leave it alone because you know that it's your capacity to practice self-love and love of other spirituality, so meaning and life and connection beyond the solo self. And it's Sid, Manny, and Diego. They all stay together and stay together with that inner child. So you have the opportunity to have conversations, to engage, and to differentiate and link. So some people, they are consistently going to choose to vibe at a lower vibration. Again, 3D, 4D, it's a mindset, but it's also a way that their nervous systems consistently are engaged in. And if you have questions, ask me. But basically, I'm in my lovely parasympathetic, the ventral vagal nervous system part of it. And the sympathetic would be instead fight and anxiety, flight, fight and flight. Dorsal vagal is complete shutdown. I've seen that. When I see it, it's like a little bubble. People who are there. In fact, sometimes I've asked, are you hearing me? Because I'm noticing that they're not there, and they're like, no, I'm here. So what you learn about trauma and people who don't realize they could use a good therapist to work with sensory motor, like Pat Ogden, she's great for that. Look her up if you're curious. But what I learned about the nervous system is that people who did have an environment that was frightening and or anyways not conducive to them being able to self-regulate in ventral vagal, they only know how to go on and off, on and off, on and off. So between sympathetic and dorsal vagal, hyper and hypo, I think. I forget how they use the words. But learning your nervous system is important, and learning then how to expand your window of tolerance if you have one. And I see, again, a lot of people doing different types of piece of content. The ones who are helpful are the ones who inform you want to take this seriously. You want to find a good therapist, EMDR, child parts work, and somatics, at least for some time, so that you can actually get a good person who can talk to you. People that actually need that don't want to go because, like Patrick Tiahan points out to his own community, he says, we're a minority, my lovely community. A lot of people don't want to do the emotional lifting. I'm not a childhood trauma survivor, but I follow his material a lot, and all of my courses have made it very clear to me why. And I've had a little sliver of trauma memory, which is why I recognized when they tell you there's gut wrench, torn apart, when a person has a level of not secure attachment and trauma, they feel ashamed, not only ashamed, gut wrench, torn apart, like disgusted of one's own self. So trauma memory, trauma charges, it's not only for the self, and this is where there's different degrees. People who experience numbness, there are people who have, gone into therapists' rooms or for consulting and counseling, and they've walked around with broken legs and broken fingers, and what people don't realize is that that's an indication that there's a underactive insula. So your mind, your head, and your body, they're separated in an effort to protect you. So a lot of great information. Again, I didn't mean to take us down this path, but there's a lot of great information out there, and there's a lot of responsible people who care to get you connected. So if you ever need any connection, I have plenty that I can send you links to get a hold of. Daniel Siegel is my go-to for, he has an extended network of good therapists and people who are out there. But in the meantime, be kind and compassionate. Let's remember that it is about direct conversation, communication. So there's one thing for sure. I don't support people who want to be superheroes and supervillains because we're all a person and people, and we're all able to be decent. So are we really superheroes? No, we're not superheroes. We're not supervillains. We don't need to add. This is the part about when you're an empowered woman or man or they, you're an empowered human. you overflow with humanity. Divinity descends. Thank you, Sadhguru. It's not an entity. We learn from our collective. I have a buttload of academics that I can thank. They did the research. They're the ones who are still studying. They're the ones who have colleagues who don't believe in them. They're the ones who get attacked. And, there's all of those mass media, whatever it is. So there's people behind the scenes of a person like me, because I'm just a voice. I am not in the research. And so science is very important. Education, it's what got our species here. Human evolution and consciousness. So yes, spirituality will acknowledge why science is important, because true spirituality people, they're not competing with subject matters. They have Mahasamadhi Samadhi. They have enlightenment. They know that you don't have to have laundry in your body. They know how to speak from their mouth. They know how to help people to get to enlighten, because that's where they are at, because they understand that you have the capacity to access what is your mammalian heritage, and that there are those who have a need for more of those of us who are safe haven, secure bases. So again, whether you're polyamory or monoamory in your intimate relationships, to be supportive of partner or partners when they're healing on their journey, to tell them to their face, of course, things that are not satisfactory in general. Hey, this is I'm not your therapist. This is a deal. What do you want? It's also not using, don't weaponize the psych words. People that I know, they talk about their partners with words. They talk about friends with words. Words meaning, yeah, that's a manipulator. That's an energy vampire. That's a this. That words like that. Versus, what did you not choose to hang out with them? Didn't you choose to go out with them? Do you not know what you're choosing? I don't understand. So when somebody comes to me, man, woman, they be, it always happens to me. Okay. I'm thinking attachment trauma informed, check, mystic, check. Where's the head of the person? Oh, wait, there's Elsa's journey. I see. Never mind. You don't want to go to the 3-year-old, do you? So that's where a person has two choices. That's to be self-aware, self-reflective, emotionally aware, emotionally reflective, and notice in 2024 that we have attachment trauma experts that can support any one-to-one, get EMDR, child parts work, and somatics so that they can join the land of the aliveness, because otherwise it's pseudo-aliveness. And the land of aliveness is a default mode network like mine that is left and right mode, all hands on deck, integration of the brain. And my default mode network is downregulated. My insula is active. I'm in a physiological state of compassion, which is why Daniel Siegel shares that integration of the brain equals kindness and compassion. But, some are not going to see you as kind or compassionate, because the minute you're near them, you're triggering whatever emotional insecurity they have. Yeah, you better bet it's going to come up. That's when we catch it and say, oh, you're so cute. Depends on what we're catching, right? But long story short, we won't put up with the projection. If you're going to project, you didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. You didn't do this. Okay, I'm going to say that we're incompatible. So I'm thanking you for your time. Tip of my hat. Peace out. I'm going somewhere else. You made it pretty clear that you don't like me. That's okay. I won't take it personally. I totally get it. When two people are incompatible, they're incompatible. When they're compatible, on the other hand, and that's where the fireworks are. So for empowered women, our ideal partners, they love exactly every little inch of anything you are. And that's because two people have it work out, because they consistently walk a walk and talk a talk. And there's good therapists that can help if there's any need of anything else. And there's people who know how to say, hey, you know what? I'm pretty sure that reaction right there is something we want to take a look at, because, a true relationship is that. And so let's see, is there any story I can end with? I have a friend of mine, and my friend, he definitely could use anger management. Even though as he gets older, he's way mellowed down, like almost completely. But he still has the same awful attitude that he had when I was growing up, meeting him as a young teenager and then a young adult. And I remember when my friend, he says to me, you got fun, Maria. I was like, what do you mean? Well, you used to not go dancing and do stuff. Yes, I was busy with schoolwork and then more schoolwork, and now I'm working. So now I have money. I can go out. I have time to do things. So I'm not sure that I got fun. I just think that now I can do more social stuff together. But that was one of the things. And in this friendship, though, there is also an exploration and an interest. But this is where my lovely friend, showed signs and more stories of, I won't reveal them, but things that I was like, yeah, red flag, red flag, red flag. I'm going to stay friends with my friend. So as we got older, he got calmer, like I said. But I've mentioned to him more than once his attitude in different ways, different shapes, different forms. One of the moments that I was able to, I think, make a bit of a difference is because he has children and they're females. And as we just were talking about different things and I saw his mannerisms again come up, I turned to him and I said, "You do know that your children, they learn from example, right?" I said, "Okay, so I'm going to ask you this. How will you feel if one day you see this and it's one of yours? Are you going to do the whole I'm going to go beat him up, or are you going to realize that you're part of the solution, if you will?" Okay, so I broke it down to him, not by insulting my friend, not by making it in my business to tell him anything about going to get any anger management, because he has a partner. That partner never mentions it. That partner just says, "Ah, it's how he is." Yeah, no, I would not be this is how it is, but that's how some people play it and do it. It's a game. No, it's not a game, but they're comfortable and they really believe, no, this is how it is. It's okay. It's not a big deal. I accept him for who he is. It's not in any way, shape, or form something dramatically dramatic that I need to take care of. And there you go. So if the partner is not into saying, "Hey, let's go do this because otherwise I'm out," and some people they do, and when they do, if the partner wants to stay, they say okay, and they do it seriously. So these are all options and opportunities, but there's no need to say "you" and to use words the way I've seen people do. And also to try and diagnose, which is another thing people do with the attachment trauma information. I share it, and some people do think I'm analyzing, and I say I'm not analyzing. I just notice things, so I'm talking about it. When I notice that people don't understand that I'm just conversing, I don't engage in that conversation anymore, because now I'm aware that they think I want to analyze, which is not what I'm doing. I don't want to analyze. I'm enjoying interacting with information that I'm aware of. So, my friend, long story short, is also the same person who just recently they have uncovered that I'm a mystic. The way that they presented it to me, though, we'll have to find out to be continued in a future story how they're going to address it because of the way that the word they used. The word they used was a word that doesn't mean necessarily a good witch or bad witch, but it could mean either or. And that's the other part about, for example, with him and the polyamory, I'm thinking, because he's definitely one of those friends who I'm going to be like, "Hey, guess what? So you asked about mysticism. Here's what also you want to find out about your good old friend." And at that, he loves me just the way I am, like I love him. Could he move into becoming a better version of himself? He can always. But in the meantime, he's already becoming a better version of himself. He's an outstanding member of society. He has a happy home. He's contributing, the part about the getting older and getting calmer. But could it have been different? Yes, but he's not the only one who doesn't do something to become a version of him or her or their self that is more emotionally mature. Because it's called, again, emotional low intelligence is where you're not taking your emotions and working with your emotional plane. You're not taking personal development seriously. You're not taking self-help seriously. This person doesn't need necessarily a therapist, although I'm pretty sure they definitely didn't have a completely child-centric environment, but they, again, work with society, they're a member, they follow the law, all these things, and they conduct a healthy lifestyle. So you can notice when there are people who are doing well and they could get that next step. They're not motivated. Like people who come out of therapy and say, "Oh, well, they're saying I'm doing a good job, so I'm not going to do mindfulness or journaling because why would I? We're all fucked up." That's how people do it. To me, that's a teenager version. It's a emotionally immature person who doesn't understand the benefits that they will get from being able to continue to work with your emotional plane. But again, motivation is personal. So at that, I thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe, like the video, share it if you want. It does help the channel. I don't like to do these types of things, but I know it does help the channel. So thank you again, and we'll see you again soon.